I've decided that Kevin's next wife will be this girl. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Next wife? What do you mean by that? I asked her. My mother-in-law seemed annoyed. You're really slow, aren't you? What I mean is, we don't need you anymore. Your time is over. What do you mean my time is over? I don't think you can have children anymore, will you? That's why this young girl will be Kevin's new wife. My name is Mary, I'm 34 years old, and I work in an office. I have a husband named Kevin. I met him through a blind date, and he's 6 years younger than me, so I thought he wouldn't be interested. But at the time, Kevin said, I've fallen in love with you. I don't care about the age difference, and he was very open with his feelings. I was moved by his passion, and I decided to date him. We had a solid relationship and eventually got married. But getting married wasn't easy. We went to meet each other's parents right away, but his mom, Barbara, didn't approve of our marriage because of our age difference. Usually, a 34-year-old woman would already be married and have kids. Is something wrong with you? Is that why you're still single? What are you talking about, Mom? Don't be rude. It's important to talk about these things. You're our only child, and you need to be careful about who you marry. She kept bringing up my age and how I was still single, things that made me feel insecure. Then her husband, George, stepped in. Stop it, Kevin chose her, so we can't object, he said. Mary, I'm sorry for what my wife just said. Thanks to George, Barbara was quiet. After getting their approval, we moved ahead with the wedding, but even though Barbara agreed, she still didn't like me. Kevin's family is very wealthy and well-known. Barbara is proud of that. Kevin had a privileged childhood, but he's not spoiled. I actually like how kind and gentle he is. Still, there were many problems during our engagement. One day, Barbara called me over and introduced me to some women in the neighborhood, saying I needed to get to know them. It turns out, Barbara is the leader of a local women's group because of her wealth and status. I greeted everyone as she asked, and they all whispered, "Good luck," which made me feel a bit better. I found out later that these women don't like Barbara either. Barbara then told me I needed a checkup to see if I could have children before the wedding. I was surprised, but I decided to go along with it. I wanted to know if I could still get pregnant, so I went to a clinic, and the doctor said I was perfectly fine. When I told Barbara the result, she just replied, "Oh, really?" I thought to myself, you're the one who told me to take the test. Maybe she was hoping I couldn't have kids so she could stop the wedding. Days passed uneasily, and the night before the wedding, Barbara invited us to dinner. Honestly, I wanted to spend time with my own parents before the wedding, but I was told it's important to accept invitations like this, so Kevin and I went to his parents' house. After dinner and dessert, Barbara started talking about us moving in with them. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She casually said, "I don't mind if you move in with us right after the wedding." Apparently, Barbara thought we had no choice but to live with them. No way, she must be joking, I thought. I didn't want my newlywed life to be controlled like that. I quickly spoke up, "Barbara, I'm sorry, but what do you mean moving in? I don't know what to say. This is too much to think about before we're even married," I added. Barbara looked surprised, as if what I said was crazy. "Kevin, haven't you told her yet?" "Huh?" I panicked and looked at my husband, and then, staying calm, he said, "Oh, yeah, I think I forgot." "What do you mean?" "Mom and I have been talking for a while about moving into this house after we get married." "Wait a second, you never told me about this. This is something we should have talked about and decided together a long time ago." "Sorry, but it's already decided. I want you to understand, Mary." "What? No." Looking back, I should have called off the marriage right there, but this was 2 years ago when I had just turned 32. I felt like if I didn't go along with it, I might never get married again. Maybe that impatience made me go down the wrong path. Well, he did propose, and I was excited about getting married. In the end, I agreed to live with Kevin's parents, but living there turned out to be much worse than I thought. First, there was almost no privacy, so I couldn't have the romantic, peaceful newlywed life I imagined. On top of that, Barbara kept criticizing me. "Mary, you have such a boring, plain face. Kevin has such a nice face with beautiful eyes and a lovely nose, but I'm worried my grandkids will look like you. Your cooking and housework are average too. You really don't have anything special." This kind of thing happened every day, and because she was the kind of person who asked me to get a fertility check, you can imagine how she'd pressure me about when I'd have children. "Do you even know how old you are? You don't have much time left. If you can't have a baby, you're useless to us. You better have a boy. It was shocking to hear such comments in this day and age, but I shrugged it off, thinking this was probably just how they were, since they came from a traditional landowning family. Barbara also kept bothering me about my job, saying, "When are you going to quit?" I liked my job, and since I moved into the house, they allowed me to drive to work. I didn't want to quit because I didn't want to be a burden, so I just ignored everything Barbara said. But after a while, Barbara demanded I pay her $1,000 a month if I wasn't going to quit my job. In other words, she wanted me to pay for living in her house. Kevin didn't have to pay any rent or living costs, but I guess Barbara was upset that I didn't listen to her, so she made this request. Since she had been letting me live there for free, I agreed to pay the $1,000 a month. "Well, you're just an office worker, so if I take this much money, you won't have much left for yourself, will you?" she said with a smug smile. "I'm not the kind of person who spends much money. I use things until they break, so my life is pretty simple." Barbara probably thought I didn't have much money, but it wasn't tough for me. What really stressed me out was how she kept harassing me. 2 years of living like this passed. Now that I'm 34, not only does Barbara keep pressuring me, but Kevin also says, "Why can't you have a baby?" and blames me for everything. I didn't expect Kevin to say something like that, and I was shocked. Since then, he has joined Barbara in tormenting me. I thought we loved each other, but after living with Barbara for 2 years, I think Kevin has started to be influenced by her. If it were just Barbara, I could handle it, but Kevin's betrayal hurts me deeply because I thought we had a great relationship. Over time, both Kevin and Barbara's actions get crazier. One day, after work, I walk into the living room and see a woman there. Besides my husband and his parents, she looks younger than Kevin, maybe in her mid-20s. I wonder who she is. Barbara tells me to sit down. Once I do, she says something I can't believe. "I've decided Kevin's next wife will be this girl." What? I can't believe what I'm hearing. Next wife? What do you mean? I ask her. Barbara looks annoyed at my confusion. "You really are slow, aren't you? We don't need you anymore. Your time is up." "What do you mean my time is up? I don't think you can have children anymore, can you?" "That's why this young woman will be my son's new wife. She's 23, and she's the niece of one of the women in our community. She's prettier than you, and I'm sure she'll have a healthy baby boy." What a woman. I'm still married to Kevin, but now she's bringing in a new wife? Kevin will surely be upset by this. At least, that's what I thought, but I was wrong. "That's why I want you to sign these divorce papers as soon as possible," Kevin says, handing me the papers. I'm completely shocked. Is having a child really that important? My life will be ruined if I stay with these people. By the way, George, my father-in-law, who had warned Barbara before we got married, has been useless since then. He hasn't tried to get involved in any of this. "Okay, I'll fill out the forms," I say, and I do everything needed for the divorce. Barbara and Kevin are happy about it. I tell them we won't be dividing any property. "Of course not. Why would Kevin give you any of his money?" they say. I'm not sure what they're thinking, but that's what Barbara and Kevin tell me. Okay, I hope neither of you find out the truth. Just like that, Kevin and I get divorced. I pack my things and move back to my parents' house, where they're shocked. I explain everything, and they agree that divorcing was the right choice. They're a bit angry I didn't tell them sooner. After apologizing to my parents, I start looking for an apartment to live on my own. I find many good apartments near my office, and it's hard to choose. A month after the divorce, Kevin and Barbara show up at my parents' house. Mary, what's going on? What are you doing here?" I'm the one who wants to know what's going on. Kevin shows me a photo he took from the TV. There I am, on the screen, answering an interview. They show a restaurant's name with my name next to it and the word owner beside it. "Why, how are you the owner of a restaurant? You're just an office worker, right?" "Oh, you saw the show yesterday? The office work is just for experience, so I can have future opportunities. As for the restaurant, my great-grandfather started it, and my father opened a new one. I took over 5 years ago. After I graduated from college, I went to a nighttime culinary school and got my chef's license. So, I worked at the office during the day and cooked at my father's restaurant at night. Right now, I'm preparing for a new business, so I leave the restaurant mostly to the manager, but they wanted to interview the owner, so I agreed." Barbara and Kevin are shocked by my story. Well, they would be, wouldn't they? When Kevin's parents met my parents for the first time, my dad mentioned his restaurant, but they probably thought it was just a small diner. Barbara just said, "Oh really?" and didn't care much about it. This is perfect. I didn't realize you were making so much money, but it's perfect for us. Huh? I'm canceling the divorce. Come back home right now. As Barbara and Kevin make these strange statements, I ask, what do you mean? It turns out the young woman who was supposed to marry Kevin doesn't do any housework and doesn't work either. She stays home doing nothing. She even calls Kevin old man and says if he wants to be intimate or have kids, he has to pay her. If he tries anything forceful, she says she'll call the police. Kevin and Barbara explain that the woman has been unemployed since high school, and her parents didn't know what to do with her. That's when the women's community got involved and introduced her to Barbara. Hearing this makes me laugh. Barbara wasn't a leader, she was being made fun of. The women in the community thought she was foolish, and now she's embarrassed. That's why Barbara wants me to come back so I can help fix things and defend her reputation. As for my ex-husband, he's living off his wife's money and struggling every month. Since she doesn't do the housework, he has to spend money on lunch every day. Meanwhile, George, Kevin's dad, left them a while ago and rented a cheap apartment. He's living on his own and taking care of his own life. It's exactly the kind of thing Josie would do, and it makes me chuckle. We're having a really tough time, you have to come back, Kevin begs. I try not to laugh and say, you know this is all your fault, right? You two kicked me out and brought that girl into your house, so you should be responsible for everything that happened. If you stay here any longer, I'm calling the police. Kevin and Barbara leave, heads drooping. I don't know what happened to them after that, but according to a woman from the community I befriended while married, life is really hard for them. Even Barbara has started working part-time. Kevin's new wife is still doing nothing but spending his money, and they've tried to make her leave, but she has ways of staying. Kevin and Barbara are completely exhausted. It serves them right. I finally find a new apartment and live in the room of my dreams. Single life is so pleasant. I feel like I don't need to get married anymore, but I still want to find romance, so I'm open to whatever encounters the future brings. For now, I'm focused on my work. Kevin and Barbara are unbelievable. Kevin didn't even know his wife's main job. He really had no interest in her, did he? Maybe he only married her to have children and to please his mother. In any case, I'm glad Mary has nothing to do with that foolish mother and son anymore. I hope she lives her life and finds happiness. Thanks for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our channel. See you next time.